for Metro. Joining me today is Leif Dormsjo from Director DDOT, Al Rashti, Director of Montgomery County DDOT, and Kathy Porter from one of our board members from Metro, and the mayor will be here shortly. She asked us to start, if we could. So we're here to talk about SafeTrack number 10, which begins Saturday, October 29th, and continues until the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, November 22nd. Surge 10 has one of the largest rider impacts of all the surges that we have done and will do. It impacts about 200,000 peak trips per day. Work requires a complete shutdown between Fort Totten and the Noma Gallaudet stations, and 2 stations will be closed, both Brooklyn and Rhode Island Avenue. And very important is service outside of that area will also be impacted. I'll talk about that in a minute. As far as the type of work that we'll be doing, it'll be full replacement of a double crossover between Rhode Island Avenue and Brooklyn stations. It'll replace 2 switches near Fort Totten. We will work on 6 other mainline switches leading to Brentwood Yard. We'll replace more than 2,200 cross ties, 1,000 fasteners, and 2,700 linear feet of grout pads. We also will be addressing NTSB recommended cable replacements, and we'll be doing structural repairs right here at Rhode Island Station. We'll also be coordinating with DDOT to allow repairs on Franklin Street and the Monroe Street bridges, which they need access to when the service is not running. As I mentioned earlier, the shutdown will result in severe service reductions that impact the entire red line from one end to the other. Whenever possible, we need red line customers with other options to consider telecommuting, traveling off-peak, and then also using bus alternatives. We put a number of boards up here that just show the nature of the work. We just have a photo of Twin Brook where we did very similar work, and what we're looking at here just north of where we're standing here. And then we also have a number of the bus routes, both in terms of what we're improving to provide more service, and also let people understand to think differently about how they got to get to where they get to, and maybe use a bus route to connect to another line to get into the district particularly. The Red Line trains will operate in 2 segments. On the east side of the Red Line, trains will run between Glenmont and Fort Totten every 10 minutes during the rush period. We recommend using the green and yellow line for trips into downtown. If you're on the Red Line, transfer at Fort Totten to do that. Or if you have the ability to drive to a Green Line station, that's even better. On the west side of the Red Line, the trains will run between Shady Grove and Noma every 6 minutes. That's about a 50% reduction in our normal service. So you can expect extreme crowding and potential delays on that part of the line as well. We will provide more 8-car trains on the red and the green lines to deal with as much traffic as we can, but it's important to note that it cannot handle all the traffic that we anticipate that would be on the line normally. In the shutdown area, Metro Bus will operate free shuttle buses between Fort Totten and Noma Gallaudet, stopping at Brooklyn and Rhode Island stations. This will only help the riders close to those stations connecting to the rail system. It cannot backfill moving all the traffic that normally would ride on the red line. So again, please use the green and yellow line between Fort Totten and Gallery Place. We also have a lot of focus on Union Station, given both MARC and the VRE lines that come into there and then transferring to the red line. So we're asking the MARC riders to consider other avenues to get to the system, whether it be at the green and yellow at Greenbelt, at New Carrollton on the red, or for the VRE at King Street, Crystal City, or LaFont Plaza. And again, please look at bus options as well. And the easiest way to do that is go to our website and look at your particular trip and let the app in effect help you get there. So with that, I will turn it over to Leif to talk about DDOT's efforts. But I want to thank all the riders for both understanding what we're trying to do and for being so flexible in what we've been trying to address here. Thank you. Leif?
Thank you, Paul. Leif Dormsjo, District Department of Transportation. Paul highlighted some key transportation options for Surge 10. I'd like to get into a little bit more detail regarding the district's preparations and some of the specific options available to Metro Rail riders. I'd like to reinforce the importance of Red Line riders developing a Plan A and Plan B for meeting their travel needs during this surge. I also want to stress that driving by yourself in your own car should be your Plan C. Take advantage of the Montgomery County ride-on shuttle bus between Silver Spring, Tacoma, and Fort Totten. Use the extra WMATA buses on the S9, P6, 80, and L2 routes. Those are described here on the boards. Hopefully we can get that information out to more and more users of the system. WMATA, DDOT, and the city's Department for Hired Vehicles, along with Montgomery County, will be working cooperatively to ensure that all additional buses and other users of the transportation system, other vehicles staging at Fort Totten, will be able to, board and alight those vehicles easily and conveniently. So we've set up station management plans around Fort Totten and also the NOMA station. DDOT and WMATA have signage plans, and we will staff the high traffic areas so that people will have the ability to interface with a customer service representative. We are deploying traffic control officers principally at the NOMA station to help with some of the pedestrian movements and the bus movements around that station. That will be the primary point in the district where those shuttle buses will be coming in from southbound direction and exiting northbound. We'll have our traffic engineers working to make real-time adjustments as they see conditions develop. We expect the first several days of the surge to be the ones that contribute the most congestion to our roadway system as people sort through the commuting options and patterns. For those of you who can avoid the roads, please do use biking options, walking. The Met Branch Trail is a great amenity here and has some benefits as an alternative, so certainly use a bike to travel along the Metropolitan Branch Trail or the Rock Creek Trail. To support some of that effort to bike, we're going to continue to market the $2 option for bike share and also have a bike share corral at the end of the Met Branch Trail here at Union Station. So we'll have a bike corral available in the evening hours in particular to help facilitate more use of the bike share system. If you do drive, please give yourself more time to commute. This will help us manage the traffic. If you can shift your travel outside the peak hours, that would be very helpful. Avoid cut-through traffic. We really need to be respectful of the communities in Northeast D.C. in particular, who really need to make sure that their local neighborhood streets are safe and not overloaded by cut-through traffic. I'm going to let this train go by here. For the most part, we have not made changes to the traffic patterns during Surge 10. There have been some very limited changes that I alluded to at the NOMA Gallaudet Metro Station. In that case, we're going to implement one-way travel patterns on N and 2nd Street. This is directly adjacent to the station. This will help accommodate the staging of those shuttle buses. We encourage non-essential vehicular traffic to avoid N, 1st, and 2nd Streets, especially during the weekday rush hours. More broadly, along the arterial routes, we're going to continue to extend the no parking restrictions, that additional 30 minutes during the morning commute and 30 minutes during the evening commute. That's been in place since the beginning of the SafeTrack effort. In addition to that, we've suspended the construction activities in the public right-of-way on key corridors like Rhode Island Avenue, Michigan Avenue, and South Dakota Avenue in an effort to eliminate construction-related interference and disruption in those areas. So as I said, if you have to drive, please give yourself extra time. Drive safely. crashes and incidents on the roadways, even minor ones, can cause major traffic backups on a daily basis. So even on non-surge days, this is something to keep in mind to drive safely. But principally during this surge 10 period, we want people to really concentrate on that. With that, I'd like to introduce my counterpart in Montgomery County DOT, Al Rushdie.
Al Rushdie, Director of Montgomery County Department of Transportation. Metro Rail Red Line is the highest ridership line in our system, so commuters should expect Surge 10 to cause major disruptions and delays. That is why we strongly recommend and encourage rush hour Red Line users to find an alternative way to commute and travel. To help you, Montgomery County Department of Transportation has been planning measures to help mitigate some of the expected Surge 10 disruptions. MCDOT has developed a three-part plan, and these measures were highly successful during Surge 6 and 7, which had tremendous results in Montgomery County, at least for our users. And our plan is three parts. First is enhance transit options. Part one is to add free ride-on shuttle buses between Silver Spring and Fort Totten with the stops in Rhode Island, in Tacoma. And these shuttle buses will provide extended and frequent service, 10 minutes or less headway from 5:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. and from 2:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. on weekdays. New for Surge 10, we are distributing a limited number of free MARC train round-trip tickets to encourage new riders to try this alternative. Our Part 2 plan is promote alternative through commuter services. That is carpool, vanpool matching, employer telework seminars and consulting, fair share transit benefits, bike route signs between the Eastern Red Line station and Green Line and at West Heightsville. And also learn the route, free guided bike ride with WABA, interactive maps of park and ride lights option, and also bike share promotions. Our trip stores will provide riders with alternative transportation information, and we will sell MARC one-way tickets. Our Part 3 plan is to manage traffic during the surge. Our Transportation Management Center will actively manage traffic signal throughout the county, especially on those affected corridors, and restriction will be placed on parking on the street on key corridors, which is Georgia Avenue and Colesville Road. And we suspend all resurfacing and utility work on any of these affected corridors. We coordinate directly with Police Department on incident management, and Montgomery County Police will direct traffic at Silver Spring Transit Center to aid buses operation. My general advice to the public is use MARC train if possible, sign for carpool, vanpool through commuter connection, considering traveling during off-peak hours, and explore park and ride light options. Consider biking and using bike share. And finally, our Montgomery County website has plenty of information helping the commuters about different alternatives and what to expect, and with a lot more detail. And finally, the county's 311 center will have extended hours during the surge from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. to help our commuters answering their question. With that, I will turn it over to Kathy, our board member.
Good morning. I am Kathy Porter, a WMATA board member representing Montgomery County, Maryland. As we begin this Surge 10, we are halfway through this region-wide effort to improve Metro track safety and restore reliability to all Metro lines. As you've heard, Surge 10 will have a major impact on riders in Montgomery County and throughout the rest of the system. As Mr. Wiedefeld pointed out, we expect that it will affect approximately 200,000 peak hour trips per day, which is a major impact on our system. Mitigation for this enormous impact has been a cooperative effort between all the jurisdictions affected, between WMATA and the Maryland Department of Transportation, Montgomery County, and the District of Columbia. As you've heard, some riders may be able to use the Green Line between Fort Totten and Gallery Place as an alternative route. Metro will run free shuttle buses between Noma and Fort Totten. Ride-On will run free shuttle buses between Silver Spring, Tacoma, and Fort Totten Metro Rail stations during extended rush hours. MARC trains are also available as an alternative. We also hope that, as in previous surges, some commuters will telework or will modify their schedules to travel at off-peak times instead of during the peak of the rush hour. WMATA is pleased with the amount of progress we have been able to make in previous surges, replacing tens of thousands of feet of track, cross ties, fasteners, and insulators, and bringing us much closer to a state of good repair. The board is focused on seeing results from this increased maintenance. Over the course of the SafeTrack surges, WMATA has become more efficient at mobilizing its workers to make the most of available track time. Ultimately, what the board wants to see is that Metro successfully addresses the FTA and NTSB safety recommendations, and we are able to restore the reliability that riders have been accustomed to for many years. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'd be glad to take any questions. The mayor has arrived, and we'll be glad to take questions as well. No? Yes, sir.
What specifically, hold on, sorry. This is the first segment shut down in the district, I think, since July. What specifically, and maybe Director Dormsjo can answer this as well, or the mayor, are you looking to do better this time that you did last time? I think it worked pretty well when you shut down the eastern side of the system back in July. But what specifically are you looking to improve upon? It's
Sure.
Obviously very disruptive.
Sure. I mean, one of the things we want to make sure is that we have all the resources ready to go when we start, make sure we're getting the work done as quick as we can. We've got to make sure we have worked very close with DDOT just on the local impacts around the stations to try to deal with those issues, and then trying to get the regional, so the regional impacts addressed both with Montgomery County and DDOT to make sure they understand that this is beyond just this immediate stations, the immediate stations being impacted, but it impacts the entire region. So,
We know from previous surges that there's been a lot of traffic congestion on the roads parallel to the rail lines. What can be done about that?
Well, I think the extra Metrobus service is a key component of this. Thankfully, we do have arterial routes that are very direct, and well served. And so I think the addition of those buses will be very helpful. We've noticed on the previous surges that there have been diversions to bus, and so I think that we need more of that. The carrying capacity of these vehicles on the rail side is going to hit their max even before they get to that terminus station. So we're talking about thousands of more people, which would potentially need to be moved on to a bus.
Was there anything when you first went around that caught you off guard, that you did it do optimally, that you do differently this time? Traffic control on anything specific?
I think we get better at this with each occurrence, and so these are tactical adjustments that are made once we start to see what the traveling public decides to do. But strategically, we're going back basically to the same tools that we've used in the past. But I think in this case, as Paul mentioned, it's an execution issue. If we get the shuttle buses moving, more efficiently, that'll be helpful. If people use those alternative bus routes, that'll be helpful. It's the cumulative effect of people making the decision to travel at a different time and travel in a different way.
Yes, definitely. This is a different situation. One is the volume of the people that we've talked about in terms of the riders, but also when you have a total shutdown, I think our experience is people do behave a little differently than when we go to single tracking. Single tracking, people can still see that, okay, I can get there, I don't have to do anything terribly different. When they see that it's a total shutdown, I think they do different decisions. So with the red line being our busiest line, impacting Union Station, those are tens of thousands of people a day understand what that means. We've been out literally the last few days handing out leaflets to all the actual users during peak period, just so they know that it's coming. They were here, they were at Union Station this morning. So we'll continue to do that, and obviously I thank all the media for helping us get the word out as well.
I'm sorry. There was a question about, you want to give the question again and I'll repeat it?
Yeah, there was a report yesterday that fare increases are still on the table. Service cuts, you remain opposed to those.
Well, I haven't said that I was, I don't know what you're referring to in me saying I'm opposed. What I've talked about being opposed to is the permanent, how should I say, ending late night service permanently and not just involved to SafeTrack. So that's what you've heard me talk about. And I look forward to the general manager presenting a budget that serves our residents. And we in the District of Columbia are very committed to Metro. We know what Metro means. We wouldn't all be here talking about the impact of a 25-day shutdown if we didn't know how critical Metro was to our economy, not only in Washington, D.C., but for this entire region. Having said that, we know that the general manager and all of the board members have their work cut out for them. They are focused on safety and reliability, and they're also working in an environment where they see decreasing revenues. So in order to go back to the members of the council and the taxpayers of the District of Columbia and ask them for more money, we also are assured from Metro that we're going to see more progress on the safety and reliability fronts. Now, I will add one thing that I thought I heard floated, and I'm not sure if the general manager is going to make this in his budget presentation, was a possible increase on bus riders that was not at the same proportion as it would be to rail riders. In other words, bus riders would pay a higher proportion of an increase. So that would be something that we would find unacceptable.
Mayor Bowser, the general manager, as you just alluded, is expected to release his budget next week, and it is expected to have a mix of fare hike, service cuts, and a higher jurisdictional subsidy. You did say in a news conference just a few weeks ago, the governors were there, that raising bus fares was a non-starter. He's saying there has to be spread pain that just can't actually.
No, actually, what I said was that bus riders shouldn't have to pay a higher increase than rail riders, and that is something that I will, if that is presented by the general manager, would be very concerning to us. But let me say one more thing about this surge. This surge is pretty. You asked about how it compares to others. We regard this as more significant than the closure we had in the District of Columbia before. We know the importance of the red line to our entire system. You've already heard about the connections that so many people make. I think you see here, and I'm grateful to see so many people from Montgomery County, my friends from Montgomery County who are here. A lot of the people who will be going through this route are starting off in the county, and so the additional services that are being offered there and getting people off of the red line, but not in single occupant vehicles, is what's going to help us. We also know that we have a lot of our school students that ride on this line, so we want to alert all DCPS students, all DC public charter school students, all private school students that use this to go across our borders, even to go to school, to please make a plan to get to school, the additional time that you're going to need. You may even find a one-seat bus ride to get you to school instead of getting on the red line. But we need people to start thinking about that right now. For DC residents and people who are visiting our businesses, this station is going to be closed. Brookland is going to be closed, the rail service, not the bus service. But these corridors, Rhode Island Avenue and all of Brookland, are going to remain open. And so I see some of our business representatives here as well. And bus service will continue, and we want to make sure people are connecting to businesses in Brookland and here along the Rhode Island Avenue corridor.
You just mentioned students using transportation. We have a reporter from Noma Gallaudet University Station who would like to ask a question.
Okay.
So how will you be providing access to the deaf and hard of hearing through this surge? Will you be providing somebody who can sign at those places so they can communicate with them to provide them the different routes?
I'm not sure of all the materials. I don't know if Paul wants to talk about the materials that are ready and available at each of the stations.
Yes, if you go to our website, actually, we did create a video that was signed, basically explaining the different aspects of the surge and where to get more information.
Mr. Wiedenfeld, I'm a rider on this. I use this station every day, so I have a couple of very quick questions. Number one, wasn't there any consideration of actually running bus service from these stations directly into downtown? Number one. Number two, during the month of November, will you actually fix the breaking concrete that was at the station? And then number three, are you concerned about Fairfax causing a death spiral in terms of people using the system, given that people don't have a lot of confidence in the on-time performance and other things, metrics of performance on that?
Sure. On the first one, on the buses, we do have other bus routes, that do go downtown. So we're asking people to look at bus options that they normally maybe don't consider. We are asking them that. The circulator's been beefed up. So there are bus options there. In terms of the work here, yes, we will be doing a lot of that work. We've got the contractor lined up when this is closed to get into much more extensive work. It will not all be done during the surge period because the extent of his work goes beyond that 25 days, just so you know. But we are stepping up that whole effort. And I apologize on the third issue in terms of the fares. Again, we feel that we've got to, costs do go up. It's been almost 3 years, and just inflation alone. With any business, you have to deal with those issues. It's not something we want to do. We have to be very careful of it. We don't want to create, where we're losing riderships. Anytime you do raise fares in any transit system, it does have an impact on the numbers of riderships, but that's got to be balanced against the financial condition of the entire system.
Mr. Wiedenfeld, is that just an admission for the first time that yes, in fact, you want to propose?
No, the gentleman asked what's sort of the rationale behind fare increases, and I answered it from a transit industry perspective.
Let me ask a follow-up, please. Last week, you admitted that you haven't done a good enough job communicating your position to the public about late-night service. How are you going to sell the folks about raising fares, say, before they're on the buses, when the state of the system is what it is, even if you really need the money?
Okay. I can do better at lots of things. One of them is communications, for sure, so I will continue to work on that. The reality is we have a system that we're trying to make up for decades of work, and that's what we're up against. So we have to do that. So until we get to the point where we're out of a repair mode and just a basic maintenance mode, over the last few years, and since I've been here, we've been going out and repairing things that should have been done and maintained over decades. So we want to switch that to a maintenance mode, so we reduce the amount of major impacts we have on our customers across the board, which then increases reliability, and then we can get the ridership back up. Again, I'll be discussing that next week. Sure, I think it's that photo behind me right there. When you look at this type of crossover, you can see a twin book what it would take to actually get the equipment in and out of there, what you're trying to do there. So that's the rationale. It's the same issue we had over at Stadium Armory. You just have very complex portion of the structure. It's not just a single track that you're going down. As I mentioned, there's 6 switches that we're dealing with, a number of interlockings. It's just the complexity of it. It would take, literally, we can't wait to get in to do this work any longer, and it would take so many more months, if not years, to get in to do it if we were just piecemealing it.
DCPS is hoping to get children back and forth to school when they have hundreds of thousands of children be affected by this.
Yes, there's been discussion with DCPS. We have discussed from the outside of SafeTrack that children and families are going to have to make alternate decisions during surges, and this one is especially significant because it's 25 days and it's 2 major stops. So we want to call attention to everybody to find out about the bus service that has been added, the shuttle service, and the additional time that they're going to need to get to school.
You've kind of openly wondered whether or not SafeTrack was effective enough. Are you going to demand some metrics from the general manager that show you that this huge surge is proving effective?
I think that we're all on the same page with that. I know that the board and the management want to demonstrate the work that's being done here and what it means for the state of good repair for our system. So I think we're all on the same page with that.
The governor of Virginia, the governor of Maryland have basically asked for some benchmarks before they agree to giving more money to Metro. What specific benchmarks can they look at to see that Metro is improving?
We have a series of benchmarks that we do monitor. Literally, we have dozens of them that we do internally. We have some that we give to the board, but I'm going to refine those basically to make sure that I'm meeting their needs. I think at the end of the day, they want to know that basically the service is out there when we say it's going to be out there and it's performing. That what we promised to deliver to customers. I think that's probably the biggest benchmark. So we will come out with something that addresses both their needs.
They've already been through a weekend closure because of what's happened here, speed restrictions. What can you guarantee the rider will see different come Thanksgiving when this surge is over for their red line community?
Again, with all of these surges, what we're doing is we're eliminating other things that could go really, really bad. I mean, that's the key of why we picked the 15. They were at risk for much greater impacts on the customers and potentially on their safety. So that's what we've got to do. So it isn't, it isn't as clear as opening a new station or something where you can just say, okay, well, there's my new thing. The reality is that track will look exactly like that, but the infrastructure that supports it will be strong, and it'll be strong for years. So that's what it's about. And I know that's very difficult for people to understand, particularly what the impact is having on them. But when you don't do that for years and years and years, that's where you find yourself. So we've got to get ahead of that curve, and that's why we're doing this project. Thank you so much.
Will you be placing traffic control officers at this intersection down here? Because the increase in bus traffic and the shortness of their life is already very difficult to get out of this parking lot, shopping center. So will you have traffic control officers stationed at Rhode Island and watching the service?
I'm not precisely sure if we're going to have the TCOs at that intersection from the get-go, but we'll monitor it, and we basically have an allocation of traffic control officers that we want to be flexible about the deployment. So if there's a need for point control, having a human there to coordinate the movement of buses and pedestrians, we'll have someone there. But we're right now kind of finalizing what those assignments are going to be. But we'll take that into consideration as we pull that together. So I appreciate the question.
How many people will need to telecommute and take alternatives in Montgomery County in order to make sure that everything is kept up the way it's supposed to be during SafeTrack?
Sorry, I missed the beginning of your question.
How many Montgomery County riders need to use alternatives such as telecommuting, different hours, and MARC training?
Well, I think I don't have a number for you, how many commuters, but I think through this surge 6 and 7, we were able to actually change some of the habits. We see quite a bit of positive result from those two surges, and I think with what we are doing in terms of getting our commuter services message out to businesses and community, we expect that this will go through not as smooth as everybody would like, because this is going to be a tough one, but I think we get through it as we have on the surge 6 and 7.
How much of this work has been added by so this is for Mr. Rito. Some of these switch replacements, the concrete repair, has the surge evolved over the past few months around that?
Yes. Oh, definitely. Remember, I mean, you know, we pushed very hard to get this thing going very quickly. You know, in a perfect world, you would have, you know, studied it for a year and come out with things. We didn't have that luxury of time. So basically, we had to jump into this thing. We've learned along the way. We've all learned, I think, along the way of how we can do this better. But I think there was a clear understanding that this was all needed, and we couldn't push this off any further. And to be frank, I think that's been the history here. So I think that's the last question, if we could. Thank you so much, Mayor, for coming out.
My pleasure. Thank you. Good to see you. Hi, Kathy. Good to see you. I love your